don't know. I feel like it's too loud.
Okay.
The bottom.
I didn't know what verse it was.
How is this sound? Can you hear me okay?
23.
Can you hear me okay?
Process of elimination.
What verse is that?
That's good.
Reading this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasa, the author. Srimvatam Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanaha, Vidyantasto Vadrani, Vidunoti Saritsatam, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu
Nashvade Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki
Bhakti Bhakti Naishtaki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, entitled The Process of Creation, and we're on 23. Almost done with the chapter. So, okay, 2, 3. Bhutaya,
Utaya,
Mahadvir,
Madhava-priya,
Ya
Imam,
Puro,
Puro,
Vibhur. Bhutaya, Mahadvir, Ya Ima, Puro, Vibhur. Nirmaya,
Nirmaya
Shete,
Shete
Yad,
Yad
Amusha,
Amusha
it's a U on the end, Amushu,
Amushu
Purusha,
Purusha
Nirmaya Shete Yad Amusha Purusha.
Nirmaya Shete Yad Amusha.
I said Amusha again, didn't I? I'll try to get it right before we're done. Bhunte,
Bhunte,
Gunan,
Gunam
Shodasha,
Shodasa,
Shodashatmakaha,
Shodasa,
Bhunte Gunan Shodasa Shodashatmakaha.
Bhunte, Guna, Shodasa, Shodasa,
That's tricky. So Lankwashishta
Lashkishida
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Vachamsi
Vachamshi
Me
Me
Bhutayar Mahadvir Ya Ima Puro Vibhur.
Wait. What happened to the last line?
What happened to the last line? We didn't say the whole thing together, did we? So Lankwashishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
So long, Krishna, Bhagavan, Vamsis, Me. So it starts with so long.
So that's Tamaka.
So Lankwashishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me. Is that correct?
The long something is there, the between.
Lankwashishta.
When I think that actually has to go. That whole.
Yeah, the last one.
Wait. So,
This is-
what is happening? What's
That's-
the first
it's
first
twice.
thing?
It's twice.
What happened?
Okay, yeah.
No
So
problem.
nothing.
Something
It's okay.
created.
We duplicated something. So
Okay.
carbon copy.
No problem. She was helping.
Okay.
That's why it's good to go one word at a time, and then you can catch these things too.
And
Did not go ahead. So long.
so long.
So Lang Krishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
So long, Krishna, Bhagavan, Vamsis,
Vachamsi. Does that say Vachamsi?
Yeah, Vacamsime.
Yeah, okay.
Look.
Everybody set?
Yes.
Ready to go. Okay. Bhutayar Mahadvirya Ima Puro Vibhur. Nirmaya Shete Yad Amushu Purushaha. Bhunte Gunan Sodasha Sodashatmakaha. Solam Prashishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Is that long? Solankashishta.
Solam Prashishta, yeah. I never saw that one before. I guess there's lots of words I haven't seen before. Bhutayar Mahadvirya Ima Puro Vibhur. Nirmaya Shete Yad Amushu Purushaha
Nirmaya Shete Yamushu Purusha.
Bhunte Gunan Shodasha Shodashatmakaha
Bhunte Gunan Sodasa Sodasmaka.
Solam Prashishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
That was two. Bhutaya Mahavirya Ima Puro Vibur.
Bhutaya Mahavirya Imam Puru Vigur.
Nirmaya Shete Yad Amushu Purushaha
Nirmaya Shete Yadamusu Purusha.
Bhunte Gunan Shodasha Shodashatmakaha
Bhunte Gunan Sodasa Sodasmaka.
Solam Prashishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
It's like it's designed to be a tongue twister everywhere.
I ended on the right word. May.
Sometimes the last word is the one that kills, but this one. Okay, who's chant?
Bhutaya Mahavirya Imam Puru Vibur.
Bhutaya Mahavirya
Nirmaya Sete Yadamusu Purusha.
Nirmaya Sete Yadamusu Purusha.
Bhunte Gunan Sodasa Sodasmaka.
Bhunte Gunan Sodasa.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me. Bhutaya Mahavirya
Nirmaya Sete Yadamusu Purusha. Bhunte Gunan Sodasa Sodasmaka.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
I didn't see a word of it.
Vachamsi Me. Bhutaya Mahavirya
Imam Puru Vibur.
Nirmaya Shesha Yadamusa. Bhute Gunan Sodasa. Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Bhutaya Mahavirya Imam Puro Vibur.
Bhutaya Mahavirya Imam Puru Vibur.
Nirmaya Sete Yadamusu Purusha.
Nirmaya Shesha Yadamusa.
Bhunte Gunan Sodasa Sodasmaka.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
Bhutaya Mahavirya Imam Puru Vibur.
Nirmaya Shesha Yadamusa.
Bhunte Gunan Sodasa Sodasmaka.
Solam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me.
That's everybody, isn't it? The word meanings. Bhutai,
Bhutai,
by the elements.
by the elements.
Mahadhi,
Mahabi,
of material creation.
of material creation.
Yah,
Yad,
he who.
he who.
Ima,
Ima,
all these.
all these.
Puraha,
Puraha,
Bodies.
bodies.
Vibhu,
Vibhu,
of the Lord.
of the Lord.
Nirmaya,
Nirmaya,
for being set up.
for being set up.
Shete,
Shete,
lie down.
lie down.
Yat Amushu,
Yadamushu,
one who incarnated,
one who incarnated,
Purushaha,
Prabhushaha,
Lord Vishnu,
Lord Vishnu,
Bhukte,
Bhute,
causes to be subjected,
causes to be subjected,
Gunan, the
Unan,
three modes of nature,
the three modes of nature,
Shodasha,
Shod-
no, there's no H on Shodasha,
Shodasha,
in 16 divisions,
in 16 divisions,
Shodasha Atmakaha,
Shodasha Atmakaha,
being the generator of these 16,
being the generator of these 16,
Saha,
Saha,
he,
He,
Alang Kashishta,
Bhavankashisha,
may decorate,
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan, the personality of
the
Godhead,
personality of Godhead,
Prachamsi,
Prachamsi,
statements,
statements,
may,
made,
Mind.
mind.
translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes which are his generator, be pleased to decorate my statements. According to the word meanings, that's backwards. Grammar is the 16 modes generated. Oh, that's a small h. So living being, this is really, who causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes, which are small h, his generator. Okay, that's what I missed. Be pleased to decorate my statements. So the 16 divisions of material modes generated the living entity. At least in this situation. Okay, please repeat. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
May the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
who enlivens the materially created bodies
who enlivens the materially created bodies
of the elements
of the elements,
by lying down within the universe,
by lying down within the universe,
and who in his, capital H, Purusha incarnation,
and he who in his
Purusha incarnation, causes the living being to be subjected
causes the living being to be subjected
to the 16 divisions of material modes,
to the 16 divisions of material modes,
which are his generator, his with a small h.
which are his generator.
Be pleased to decorate my statements.
Be pleased to decorate my statements.
Very purport. As a fully dependent devotee, Shukadeva Goswami, unlike a mundane man who is proud of his own capability, invokes the pleasure of the personality of Godhead so that his statements may be successful and be appreciated by the hearers. The devotee always thinks of himself as instrumental for anything successfully carried out, and he declines to take credit for anything done by himself. The godless atheist wants to take all credit for activities, not knowing that even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of the Supreme Spirit, the personality of Godhead. Shukadeva Goswami therefore wants to move by the direction of the Supreme Lord, who inspired Brahma to speak the Vedic wisdom. The truths described in the Vedic literatures are not theories of mundane imagination, nor are they fictitious, as the less intelligent class of men sometimes think. The Vedic truths are all perfect descriptions of the factual truth, without any mistake or illusion. And Shukadeva Goswami wants to present the truths of creation not as a metaphysical theory of philosophical speculation, but as the actual facts and figures on the subject, since he would be dictated to by the Lord exactly in the same manner as Brahmaji was inspired. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, the Lord is himself the father of the Vedanta knowledge, and it is he only who knows the factual purport of the Vedanta philosophy. So there is no greater truth than the principles of religion mentioned in the Vedas. Such Vedic knowledge or religion is disseminated by authorities like Shukadeva Goswami, because he is a humble devotional servitor of the Lord who has no desire to become a self-appointed interpreter without authority. That is the way of explaining Vedic knowledge, technically known as the Parampara system or descending process. The intelligent man can see without mistake that any material creation, whether one's own body or a fruit or flower, cannot beautifully grow up without the spiritual touch. The greatest intelligent man of the world, or the greatest man of science, can present everything very beautifully only insofar as the spirit life is there, or in so much as the spiritual touch is there. Therefore, the source of all truths is the Supreme Spirit, and not gross matter as wrongly conceived by the gross materialists. We get information from the Vedic literature that the Lord himself first entered the vacuum of the material universe, and thus all things gradually developed one after another. Similarly, the Lord is situated as localized Paramatma in every individual being, hence everything is done by him very beautifully. The 16 principal creative elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, and the 11 sense organs, first developed from the Lord himself, and were thereby shared by the living entities. Thus, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord, and the individual living entity can only pray to the Lord to understand it properly. Since the Lord is the supreme entity different from Shukadeva Goswami, the prayer can be offered to him. The Lord helps the living entity to enjoy material creation, but he is aloof from such false enjoyment. He, capital H, is aloof. Shukadeva prays for the mercy of the Lord, not only for being helped personally in presenting the truth, but also for helping others to whom he would like to speak. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes. With the torchlight of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, it's actually a lot in here. Sometimes I just start coming from the bottom and go up. So, one point, since the Lord is the supreme entity different from Shukadeva Goswami, the prayer can be offered to him. So if all is one, there's no point praying, right? So Shukadeva Goswami is offering these prayers to, this is a point for Chintya Veda Veda Tattva, since we're all one yet different. So then we can pray to Krishna. If we were all one, there's no relationship whatsoever, because we're just all one. There's no prayers, nothing. And some people like that idea. They don't want to have to pray to some God. They just want to be God. They don't want to go through this devotional stuff. But those who love God and understand it, they pray because they know that God is one person, I'm another person, so I can pray to him. So that was a little point that was slipped in here to make sure we always understand that. So the Lord helps the living entity to enjoy material creation. So he helps because we wanted to, and he helps us do what we wanted to. But he's aloof from such false enjoyment. So he helps us enjoy, but it's false. So it's what we want, he'll help us. But he'll also show us, he'll also give us lessons. So Shukadeva Goswami says, praise for the mercy of the Lord, not only for being helped personally in presenting the truth, but also for helping others to whom he would like to speak. Shukadeva Goswami, I detect, was very compassionate toward Raj Parikshit. Here's this king who knows he's going to die in 7 days, and he knows there's going to be, and Shukadeva Goswami knows that there's got to be some fear in this, and he's this great devotee, and he's there. He's intimately connected talking about Krishna. He has a lot of compassion, because in the end, he took the trouble to explain in great detail what happens, how the body gets dissolved, how the whole material world gets dissolved, and then he said there will be no pain. You can enter trance, you won't feel any pain. He's feeling this too. And then he's worshipped, and then he leaves. So for one thing, he leaves because how can Krishna Maharaj focus on following his instructions if he's still there? But also you might feel that he left because he gave his whole heart to Krishna Maharaj, and maybe he really doesn't want to watch him die. So, I don't know, but he seems like there's little ways that you can feel that he's really caring, he's really trying hard. He's really trying hard to help him, he's very, very compassionate. So it matters a lot to him that he would be able to speak according to what Krishna wants and really, really help. And of course, he's not working from a book like we're working from a book. Even Prabhupada was working from books. But Krishna was, when he was translating, Krishna was there, and he also spoke according to Krishna's guidance. Shukadeva Goswami did not carry a book. He had the book within himself, realized And so he's praying, please help me present this. He's praying. It's extra important to pray in that situation. You can't just fall back and rely on the book that's already there. He's not carrying the book. So, let's see. Maybe there's more points. There's something about the sense of, where is it? Okay, the 16 principal creative elements. We're talking about 16 here, and there's different counts at different times for different reasons. But it's got earth, water, fire, air, sky. These are the elements. These are the material elements. Yeah, it doesn't even mention the mental ones here, but and the 11 sense organs, first developed from the Lord Himself, and were thereby shared by the living entities. Now that's in Canto 3. It describes how when the Purusha wanted to see, he created eyes and he created a fire. He separated out fire and eyes to see. So he created these things before there were little beings with bodies. I mean, there were always beings, but they didn't have bodies yet. So this was created on the subtle platform before it was created in the gross platform, like I guess it would be a blueprint. So or maybe because he became, that's how he connected with matter, because he's the soul of the universe, and he's within every atom. So this is the process of the supreme spiritual person connecting himself to matter so that he can be within it and enliven it. So anyways, there's 16 principal creative elements. In each of these, it does not mention the objects of the senses, which some lists mention the objects of the senses, but they're included. So earth has all the senses, especially smell. Water has all but that, especially taste. Fire has all but those two, but especially form, because fire takes form. It's in a particular place, not everywhere. Air is everywhere. It has no form, but you can feel it. It has touch. And sky is ether, and has the sound only. So the sense objects are included when here he says the 16 principal creative elements. These elements include the objects of the senses because they have those properties. And the 11 sense organs, well, one of them is the mind, and there's 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, and there's 5 senses of action. And the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, of course, we all learned even in grade school. It's sight, sound, hearing, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, skin. So those are the knowledge-acquiring senses. And then the senses of action are, I probably can't say this as certainly. I know the tongue, the arms, legs, sex organs, and the anus. So those are I think I said it right. So those are the 11 sense organs, including the mind. 16 principles first developed from the Lord Himself. So He created all these things for Himself within the material elements. And then Brahma created the individual bodies. So it's a strange thing to get used to when you're first studying it. That's not how we're taught. We're taught it comes from matter, and it evolved upward. We're taught this crazy idea that there was somehow the molecules joined up, and somehow there was a soup of what do you call them? Organic chemicals. A soup of organic chemicals floating around in the ocean. And we don't see that happening now. They come from organic chemicals that float in the ocean, come from the decomposition of bodies in the ocean. So they don't come from just molecules combining. But the scientists say that it started out that way. And then they say these chemicals, somehow got together and made cells. Okay, somehow these chemicals figured out how to make a cell wall and a cytoplasm and a nucleus. All by themselves, and all at the same time, because you have to have all of them or the cell won't make it. So somehow they did that. And then, not only that, but these little individual cells figured out how to live together, so they made bigger bodies. So, in other words, one-celled creatures could do what we even can't do. You can't find humans living together without fighting. And these cells, they somehow live together in complete union and complete synergy and make a bigger body. kind of sacrifice their individuality. So this is what the scientists say. They teach it to children. They give you illustrations as if the cameraman was there on the spot, and they have everybody believing that's how it happened. But it doesn't happen that way. It starts at the top with the Purusha avatar. By the time he's inside the universe, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu expands as Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. And I don't know what point he expands, but between those two, somehow he enters, or is it even Mahavishnu, who enters starts interacting with the elements in sensory ways. He starts developing organs and senses, and that separates the elements to have these qualities so he can sense them. So in that way, he enters the material elements, and he makes these blueprints that are there. And so Lord Brahma can take these blueprints by his meditation. He knows when he can, out of his own body and out of that lotus that he's sitting on, he can form the universe. But he didn't create the way that the molecules work together and the cells work together. He didn't create the senses, and he didn't create those systems. He just called on the blueprints and organized it into different kinds of bodies. So he's just a secondary creator. And I guess a tertiary creator is an artist on the earth who takes some materials and shapes it into something pretty or something useful that looks good. And that would be a kind of third level creator, I guess. So the further you go, the down you go, the less you really create. The creation happened in the beginning with Mahavishnu. So there's quite a science, and it's different from how we're taught in school. So let's see, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord. And the individual living entity can only pray to the Lord to understand it properly. So if you use a microscope and then an electron microscope and then study the structure of the atoms and molecules, it just gets more and more beautiful. And even you could probably take some stool. If you got down to structure, just analyzing the molecules, you'd find the beauty because who's in every atom, and making sure that they all connect in a beautiful way. Is that the deeper you go, the more you find this perfect geometric beauty that is because of the Lord within everything. Everything he does is beautiful. Then it gets up to a more complicated level, up into our perception of reality. Then there's beautiful things and ugly things. But really you examine it and there's nothing ugly. Everything is beautiful. And that's because the super soul is in everything. So just like suffering and enjoyment, it's in the living entity, the soul. It's not, the body is just interacting according to the modes of nature. All this is set up by the Lord, and the modes of nature interact, and the body is going through these changes because it's made of the material nature, and inside the soul likes it or doesn't like it. So we have beautiful things and ugly things. We have pain and enjoyment, suffering and happiness, like that. That comes from the soul's perception if it's what I want or not. So it is not actually, everything is perfect and beautiful, because every single molecule that everything is made of has a super soul in it, and he makes sure everything he does is beautiful because he's the supreme artist. And a living entity can only pray to understand. So, let's go up. So there's the Vedic literature. He's talking about the Vedic literature now. The Vedic literature tells us how the Lord first entered the universe. Nobody was there. Somebody could illustrate it, but nobody was there with the camera. Like they try to illustrate the Big Bang. It's like the photojournalist was there on the spot and caught the Big Bang. And then somehow having a picture makes people believe it. But we have word pictures given to us in the Vedas, and so if we make a picture, it's not by speculation. It's by the word pictures given in the Vedic literatures. So then if we obey those words, then we can illustrate something about it. We can illustrate it with some accuracy. So we're dependent on the Vedas. So the intelligent man can see without mistake that any material creation can beautifully grow up without the spiritual touch. So intelligent people will look at it and say, well, how is it so beautiful? How is it that these molecules are so perfectly geometrical? How is it that you take a magnifying glass or a microscope and look at a tiny insect or something and it's more and more beautiful? How is that? And how you look at the cells in a leaf, more and more beautiful. How is that? It's because it's got to be that there is God making it beautiful. An intelligent man will figure that out. An intelligent man will know that you take the ingredients and put it in a soup pot and stir it and add the right amount of warmth or something. It's not going to turn into these things. It's not going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Prototype cells aren't going to happen. And even you put some elements and some water in a pot, they're not going to combine and make organic chemicals. They're not going to just do that stuff without well, maybe some chemistry might happen if you know how to do it without, but then you have to obey the laws of chemistry. And who made the laws of chemistry? Why is, an intelligent person will look at it like that and see, well, it's got to go back to a God. You can figure out. So then I have to try to understand about this God, because if he made all this, he made me, and I should relate to him. This is intelligence. So even Jnana Yoga should lead to this intelligence that actually I have to relate to God. Not that I'm God. When did I make an organic chemical, or when did I organize a handful of organic chemicals and make a cell wall and a functional cytoplasm and some DNA so it can reproduce? When did I do that? When did any scientist do that? So an intelligent person knows there's something higher. An intelligent person looks at a dead body and knows that there's something that was there that isn't there, and everything chemical that was there is still there. So an intelligent person can figure out there must be some kind of soul. So this is intelligence. We can get that far with intelligence. And if we're willing to be intelligent, sometimes people aren't willing because they have a preconceived idea, they have a independent attitude that they want to protect, so they don't want to admit that intelligence would show them that there's a God that they ought to pray to, and they don't want to do that. They want to protect their independence and their rebellious spirit and justify it, so they adjust all that they see and hear into a proof that there's no God. And that's cheating, because it's not true thinking. They're adjusting it on purpose. So an honest person, a truly intelligent person is an honest person. I see these things, therefore they're this is what I see. I can't go change it to make it agree with what I like. So this is intelligence is honesty also. So I say in a prayer that we start with the truthful devotee. Devotees have to be truthful. And a devotee isn't automatically truthful. There are devotees who avoid some things and they're not 100% truthful. And a devotee is truthful if a devotee comes across some higher knowledge and accepts it. Okay, I can't, no games, no dodging, this is the truth. So that's truthful. And he's talking, the first paragraph is talking, is that the first paragraph? As a fully dependent devotee. In the material world, we don't like the word dependence. We think that's bad, somehow childish or something. But we are children of God. So Shukadeva Goswami is a fully dependent devotee, and he doesn't want to say anything independent of Krishna. So he's glorifying Krishna and praising him and meditating on who he is and what he's like so that he can be focused in, and he's praying, please speak through me. And please make sure I say the right things. And be appreciated by the hearers. He wants to say it in the right language that the hearer can actually benefit. Sometimes we say things the way we want to, and the hearer doesn't benefit, and so there's frustration and then no benefit. So we try to figure out words that somebody can relate to, so we try to help them. So that's what he's praying for here. Also, Prabhupada prayed for that. When he came to the West, he said he wanted, how can I, please make my words, how to say it, make my words understandable for them to hear, things like that. So, devotee always thinks of himself as instrumental for anything successfully carried out, and he declines to take credit for anything done by himself. That's why there's the joke about me. Somebody here always jokes about me and if I did something right, I don't get the credit. If I did something wrong, it's my fault. Amen. But it's true. It's actually true. If we do something wrong, it's because we rebel from Krishna. And if we do something right, it's because we're tuned into Krishna. And that's what makes it right.
I think one part of what you're saying is like if we do something great, it's like I take the credit. If something goes wrong, it's Krishna's arrangement.
Well, yeah, we do that. Devotees say it's Krishna's arrangement, and other people just say it's so-and-so's fault. I didn't do anything wrong. So-and-so messed it all up. It was an accident. You know, I'm actually a good person. I couldn't help it. So-and-so messed it up. And, or maybe they might go as far as to say, why is God doing this to me? And so I said, well, if I do something wrong, then it's, you know, do I do something right? Then it's, yes, I did something right. So I guess we all have that. You do something right and you feel some satisfaction about that, yes, but you have to remember that if we do something truly right, it's because we're tuned into Krishna some way, some level. And we're obeying him or somehow tuning into his guidance. If we do something wrong, it's because we're independent. We're trying to do it our own way. So that's actually a fact.
First time I heard that was from Bhishma, probably.
Yeah, but I think it's
He's open.
yes. Bhishma is a person who makes that joke. But we know it is joking, but it's hard to, we all go through that. It's hard to, when we started being a devotee, it's what? No? You know, we want the usual kind of credits and we want the usual opportunity to blame. So we get it all turned inside out when we start learning the philosophy, and it's kind of rough at first. We argue. I did too, probably. Let's see.
Sometimes devotees will say it's Krishna's mercy that, you know,
Yeah.
like the time someone
Salt in the china meat, yeah.
and so the devotee said, I guess it's Krishna's mercy. It's all Krishna's mercy. And a lot of times people will say the fundy's not going well, that's also Krishna's mercy, and that's true, but there are times when it's our stupidity.
Yeah. Yeah, so
you have to know the difference.
if Krishna's mercy gives us something unpleasant, then it's probably because we're needing some guidance or something, needing some kind of negative impetus to straighten out. So, yeah, it's Krishna's mercy, but to do that, I mean, just saying Krishna's mercy that this mistake was made in front of the spiritual master, so her tendency to dodge her responsibility was exposed in front of Prabhupada. So that was Krishna's mercy, but not how she meant it. And so she got a lesson out of that. So that was good. That was Krishna's mercy. So the Vedic truths are all perfect descriptions of the factual truth without any mistake or illusion. Now this is talking about the Vedic truths are spirit versus matter. As far as like the details of science, they're presented one way, and sometimes scientists, they study something, they see something presented another way or something like that. I don't think this is really what the discussion is here, because okay, yes, there's material stuff, but the Vedic truths are explaining the relationship of spirit and matter and what's the difference and what to do about it. So these are presented without mistake, and we're not in this sentence worried about agreeing or not agreeing with scientists. This sentence isn't really about that. This sentence is about the science of what is spirit. And it's presented without mistake, and Krishna in the spiritual world is described, and this is without mistake. So we can trust this Vedic literature for that, for knowing this. So, what time is it? It's time. Okay. So before I start, I think I touched on all the points here. Last time I mentioned that there are artists in the spiritual world, and it's in this book, Sri Radha Krishna Ganodesha Deepika. And it's right off in the first, let's see, and it's very brief mention, but they're there in text 6. It's about Krishna's family. The sentence is translated as, the inhabitants of Braja are Krishna's family. That family is divided into 3 classes: the cowherds, the brahmanas, and the artists. So I was wrong, I said not the brahmanas, but they don't seem to play a central role as brahmanas except for Krishna's Madhu Mangala friend, is that his name? He's always clowning, kind of. He's a Brahmana. Otherwise, the Brahmanas seem to be a little to the side or something in Krishna's intimate pastimes. But the artists are there too. So, the wives of the Brahmanas, yeah, they weren't in Vrindavan in that story. They were living separately. They were not, they were, I guess how big is Vrindavan? What is Vrindavan? They weren't in the village of Vrindavan. They were living somewhere else and conducting their rituals, setting up for the rituals, and the cowherd boys happened to be nearby. So the Brahmins don't seem to be so central except this one boy, as far as I can figure out so far by my readings. But anyway, the artists are there. And that's all it says about the artists, except later on it has some mention of the different things that are artistically made for Krishna. So I always, as an artist, I always want more information about the artists, but at least I know that they're there. And what are they going to do? They're going to be making beautiful things for Krishna. So it says, artists and architects. What does it say there? Artists and architects.
Does that mean like craftsmen also then that are?
Yeah. I think that it would blend. Art and craft would blend in this situation, just like it does for the deities. When you're serving the deities, art and craft blend. And it's done for Krishna, and real artistic creativity comes out and in crafts. And then crafts are things like jewelry making and dressing and things like that. And you think there are so many things that are arty paraphernalia and cups and plates and stuff like that. Then crowns, jewelry, all these things. Somebody is making them because they don't just exist it's not boring, it's dynamic up there. Somebody's always making things for Krishna. So there are artists in the spiritual world. As far as whether they paint pictures, I don't know. I can't find any information, but I would think that they would.
It was one of the arts that Krishna and Balaram learned.
Was learn how to paint pictures. And also I started thinking maybe there are deities up there, because sometimes Krishna is absent for this, union separation stuff. Sometimes Krishna's absent, he's doing something else that time of day. They have days, but they don't have material time like we do, but they have cycle of activities. And there's times when Krishna's present with them, and sometimes Krishna's absent. And then when he's absent, they get this separation where their love intensifies. And I would not be at all surprised if they had deities for that time. And one reason I'm thinking that is that, again, the Govardhan Hill stories, there is one story about when Krishna was absent, the gopis made a deity of Krishna. So maybe they have deities, and so everything multiplies, there's more and more.
Well, they were worshipping at the end, the Rukmini was worshipping, and also the gopis were worshipping Katyayana for Krishna to be their husband.
Yeah, so maybe they have that too, and they have deities of Krishna, because there was at least that one story around Govardhan Hill. There's that story. So, and Krishna's pastimes are to show the spiritual world, so I would not be surprised. I'm just saying, I haven't really seen that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had deities too, of Krishna.
But there's some things that are going on here in the earthly Vrindavan that aren't going on in the
Like Krishna being born, like being a baby, like that.
Killing demons.
Yeah, that killing demons too. So I don't know, I just said I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying, I never saw it said anywhere yet, but I wouldn't be surprised because all the arts seem to be there. So there's one manjari, and you read the list of manjaris and what different things they do, gopis and manjaris, that one of them, her service is painting. It's all it says. What painting I want to know. Does she paint gopi dots, or does she paint landscapes with Krishna and the cows in them, or what? I don't know what she does, but she paints. It's her service. Why not do the whole thing? Why not say, you can't paint a picture of Krishna
She
and
paints
the cows,
Hannah.
this is spiritual work. Why not?
Well, this should be an impetus for chanting your rounds perfectly, so then it'll all be revealed to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm sure paint behaves a lot better up there than it does down here, because sometimes you have an idea, and it does not go that way when you're painting, so I bet it works better up there.
It's Krishna.
Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
It's
See, I can't
Madhava-priya.
see people's faces against the windows, so.
Glory to Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna, nice to see you.
So I just wanted to say that the book that you gave a reference
Yeah.
just now, we will have it, or we have it already at the very
library. I'm not sure if we have it for sale, because if we have extras, we can sell them, but we will have them as a reference anyway.
Very good.
And then I was going to say something about what you guys say about Krishna's mercy. That Prabhupada did say that it's Krishna's mercy, but it also can be our negligence.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing that you mentioned, I came late, but you were talking about the creation and all that. People that don't believe in God, or they say that they are atheists or whatever, they do believe that they create, they do believe that they can do it.
Yeah, they believe it's an illusion. But this thing, what we were saying, the whole thing about Krishna's mercy and versus negligence, I suggested that it was, because he was talking about Krishna's mercy that we learn lessons. Yeah, it could have been Krishna's mercy that she made her dumb mistake and made her dumb excuse right in front of Prabhupada so that she would get a lesson. You know, so in that way it was Krishna's mercy, but it's not Krishna's mercy. You get to practice, you get to experience salt in your Chanamrita. It's my mercy. Not that. Not in that sense.
I heard Dina Glenn talk about that last time because he was there.
Oh.
And he said he can imitate Prabhupada's voice real expertly. And he said, I can't do it.
I can,
It is so
yeah.
like that. Like he wasn't happy.
Yeah.
What did you say?
It is salt. It
It
is
is
salt.
Salt. You know, Krishna's mercy. You can't tell the spiritual master that the spiritual master has something unpleasant and it's Krishna's mercy. You just can't do that. So she had the opportunity to get a big lesson. So, okay, that's everything that I was going to say. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, and all glories to the devotee assembly and all this discussion. Thank you very much.